Salvē, Mika, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 5, verses 38 through 40. But first, last time in John chapter 5, we only have one page to look at. So there it is. Here is our rubric. Let's go ahead and get started. At verbum eius non habetis in vobis manens, quia quam misit ille, huc vos non creditis. Scruta mini scripturas, quia vos putates in ipsis vitam aeternam habere, et illae sunt quae testimonium perhibent de me, et non voltes venere ad me ut vitam habeates. Conjunction connecting us to verse 37, which makes sense. This is still part of the same paragraph. Verbum, verbi, neuter, so nominative or accusative. Eius owning verbum, the genitive singular common from is id. Taking a look at habitus, verbum then must be accusative, singular, neuter as the direct object of habitus, habeo, habere. Tis, second person plural, negated, present tense, active, and indicative. Prepositional phrase, vobis, in taking the ablative then. Otherwise, it would have to be vos for accusative. And where would you have into yourselves? That doesn't make any sense. So ablative, not singular plural, common. Manens is going to end this clause. Why does it end the clause? Because we have quia right there. So I do need to parse this before translating. This comes from maneo, manere, manui, mansum, I think. But those other forms don't matter because we have the ens. NS is going to be nominative, singular. Close that. Why is it NS? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, of course it's NS because verbum is accusative. That's really silly of me. So accusative, not nominative, singular, neuter, present, active, participle, missing commas, word remaining in yourselves. So note that both habitus and manens are in the present tense. That means that manens is happening at the exact same time as habitus. That is something you want to keep track of, is the tense of various actions. And I forgot to make note of that in the Greek video. So if we had a perfect participle, then it would have been something that happened beforehand. It is not necessarily happening now. There's not any other participles tenses in Latin, so you can't do that. But with the Greek, there are a couple different ones which would have different meanings. But in your having of this now and going forward, because present tense is incomplete action, it is continuing to remain now and presumably ongoing into the future, not in you. So moving on into our next clause, quia could be that, could be because. We'll have to take a look at the clause to determine which. But I should note before I move on that verbum, by now we should know when Jesus says that, especially coming from the Father, he's referring to himself, and especially if you think of John chapter 1. So his word, who, Jesus. So when we come to quem, which is going to refer back to verbum. Did I get the gender of verbum wrong? No, I can't have, because manens. Interesting. So then that means that Jerome saw exactly what I said there, and he didn't go with what the Greek... No, sorry, I'm taking a look at the Greek. Just right up here. The Greek logos, the same word for verbum, is masculine, whereas this one is neuter. So he is going with what the Greek has for quem, but the relative pronoun in Greek, which is hon, matches its noun and gender, whereas quem doesn't match verbum. So that's interesting. So he's broken with how he technically should have translated, because he knows that Jesus can only be referring to himself when he's talking about word. He may have done that before, but it's been so long I don't remember all the stuff that we've gone through. So all that to say, accusative, singular, masculine, very obviously referring to Jesus himself. Misit mito mittere misi, we parsed this last page, don't need to do it again. Ille as the subject, if misit, the further demonstrative, nominative, singular, masculine. And then huic is going to be part of the next clause. So that one sent whom, that one sent. Still don't know about quia. Huic from hic, haec, hoc, huius, 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 huic, and so on. So this is going to be dative singular, common, since they all share them, but it is going to be referring specifically to masculine, as we'll see in a moment. Vos, unnecessary pronoun with creditis, therefore emphatic. Credo, credere, credi, same in the present as in the perfect. So then we need to take a look at the Greek to figure out what tense credit is supposed to be. Correction, we don't. Because of the personal endings. So we got ost, mustis, unt. And in the perfect we have e ist, it, imus, istis, erunt. Since there is no s, this must be present tense. So second person, plural, present, active, indicative, and then credo takes the dative of the thing believed, which we find right here with hook. Vos is going to be nominative, plural, common, the emphatic subject of creditis. And I said masculine because hook needs to refer back to something. That would be verbum through quem. And since we know verbum refers to Jesus, because it makes sense in the context of everything John has said, and because Jerome has been so wonderfully helpful for us right here, hook is technically masculine. Oh, and quia, you do not have his word remaining in you. That, no, because of all this. Moving on into verse 39, scrutamini, our verb at the beginning, very nice, I think very Hebrew. This comes from scrutor, so it's a deponent verb. The mini is going to be the second person plural. Restur, more mini, intur, present stem, and it is, as I said, deponent, not active. But then mini functions both as the indicative ending and as the imperative ending. And we've got an imperative here. It should be spelled with the I first. Scruto, inscrutable is the word we get from that, but that's not what the meaning we have here. It's to ransack, which is a pretty cool meaning for this. So ransack scripturas, as, for accusative, plural, feminine. We could also have search, which is kind of boring. Carefully examine, meh. Ransack. I'm not actually going to go with that. I'm going to go with carefully examine with ransack underneath. But then another quia could be this, that, or because. Again, vos, again, emphatic. Putatis, A tells us that this is going to be present, or it could be subjunctive. Puto, putare, first conjugation. So then, yes, this is present indicative. Second person plural, present, active, indicative. This means to think, I don't know if it actually means to, thinking and considering go together, so probably. Prepositional phrase, ipsis vitam is the wrong form, especially with ipsis separating it. So this is ipse, ipsa, ipsum, ipsi. No, it's ipsius. Ipsius is the genitive, so yes, this is dative or ablative, plural. So yeah, that confirms that in can't be taking it. It's going to be taking the ablative then, taking vitam, that is. Ablative, plural, and masculine and feminine and neuter. It's technically common, but we know that this should be referring to the scripturos as the plural. So common, technically, feminine, so that we know it's referring to that specifically. Vitam, accusative, singular, feminine as the direct object of not putatis, but instead habere. Ere, present, active, infinitive, with aeternum am modifying vitam. And then at introduces a new clause, so I'm going to pause there. Go back to quia. Inspect the scriptures that you think. Well, why would they inspect the scriptures so that they think, or inspect the scriptures? Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. So it has to be because, again. So it could be that Jerome, in the Greek, because the Greek is set up the same way in this clause, is intending an indirect statement with an implied you. Could be that vos is not nominative plural, but intended as accusative plural. Same thing for the Greek, because they're identical. No, not correction. I'm wrong there. In the Greek, because in the Greek we have the form that we see is humes, but for it to be accusative, it would have to be humas, and I think it's circumflex both ways. Yeah, with this one, not this one. So yeah, this has to be nominative, plural, masculine. So it would have to be implied, or it could just be you think, to have, by examining, by reading, by keeping all that the scriptures say. But that's not the case, because et and Eli, nominative, plural, feminine, referring back to the scriptures. These sunt are, quae, relative clause. Eli, referring ultimately back to scripturas. Testimonium, our very frequent word, no need to parse. Perhibent, perhibeo, present tense, third person plural, in this case. Prepositional phrase that we have seen before, so we don't need to parse that either. And it is these which bear witness about me. So they're wrong. Et non voltis, this is from volo, vele, volui, to wish, not volo, volare, to fly. TIS as the present stem. Nothing to pull down. So second person, plural, present, active, indicative of this irregular verb. Veneri. This is another present active infinitive. So just pull that down. Ad, prepositional phrase. Ad always takes the accusative, and may can be either ablative or accusative, so that fits. Singular, common. Ut is going to be purpose or result. You do not come to me. And I think in this case it could technically be either, because as a result of coming to him, habeatus vitam. But since they haven't come to him, Jesus probably implies the purpose here. You do not wish to come to me for the purpose of having life. So that's accusative, singular feminine, as we've seen. Habeatus, the EA on the second conjugation verb just tells us it's subjunctive. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in its own context. And his word you do not have in yourselves remaining, because whom that one sent, you yourselves do not believe in him. Ransack the scriptures, because you yourselves think in them to have eternal life, and those are which give witness about me. And you do not wish to come to me, so that you may have life. Great shame and condemnation. I'm getting ink on my sleeve. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. Wale.